Hello everyone, so in today's video we're just going to go over quickly how to prepare for the AHIP. Now the AHIP is of course the test that everyone needs to take before starting to sell Medicare Advantage, that's the Part C plans or Medicare Part D plans. Now, in this video we're going to specifically talk about the AHIP and kind of like tips and tricks on how to prepare, and also things to kind of consider that you may have used in the past that will no longer work now because of the new way that the AHIP is being presented as far as information wise. So if you look here, these are the different types of tests that the AHIP has, different types of modules. Typically, if you've taken the AHIP before, you just need to recertify and not completely, your first time taking the AHIP, you most likely do not have to take the first 3 modules of the AHIP, just the last 2. So you're just going to be taking module 4 and module 5. Otherwise, you have to go through all the modules again. They won't let you take the final exam until you've gone through all 5 modules, unless you are recertifying, and then you just have to take 4 and 5. Now, in addition to the 5 modules and the final examination, the certification test, that you have to score at least a 90% or higher. So out of the 50 questions, you can only get up to 5 questions wrong. If you get more than that, then that's considered a non-pass and you'll have to take it again. Also, keep in mind, you only have 3 chances really to retake this AHIP before you have kind of ran out of tries. Now, in 2021 or 2022 certification period for Medicare Advantage and Medicare Part D, there is something called the NAHU, the NAHU version of their certification, which I won't talk about in this video, but there is another way if you, for whatever reason, are unable to pass the AHIP in 3 tries. So after you finish the AHIP, there is general compliance, fraud, waste, and abuse, and the non-discriminatory training. And those 3 have to be taken also after you pass the AHIP. And those things just satisfy kind of the compliance that Medicare plans have, not pertaining to the actual plan it's selling, but pertaining to kind of the operations of the plan and how you interact with other providers of Medicare services. So now we got the basis of the AHIP. Now, how do you prepare for the AHIP? This is the kind of part where it's going to take you back to test taking and kind of that mentality of maybe preparing for an exam in high school or in college, right? How do you prepare for an exam? Remember, when you prepare for an exam, you usually have to study a little bit, get into that mindset, get the snacks, get your drinks ready, because even though the AHIP is an open book test, it is a timed test. You only have 2 hours, 120 minutes to finish 50 questions. So if you were to kind of do the quick math, you have a little more than 2 minutes per question. Now, these aren't calculatory questions typically, they are multiple choice. So you're given a scenario and you are asked to provide the most correct answer or response to whatever the circumstances are presented. A really good way of kind of practicing is when you go through the modules, actually do the modules. They ask you a question, don't just try and click forward to get through it. You want to read it, digest it, and be able to replicate that exact same answer, because in the modules they'll have practice tests, and those practice tests will be nearly identical to what the actual test is. And that can help you really make the most of test taking, so you don't have to take it more than once. Typically what I do is, because it's open book, we don't get a PDF file. So here's tip number 1, super helpful tip. You can't download the PDF. There is no PDF to download. So you can't do the ctrl+f to type in the first several, keywords in the question and then be provided with the answer. You have to actually know the material and be able to reread past, different modules that you have. Maybe you can take a picture of it or actually print it out when you're finished. But what I do is I take a screenshot of the questions that I know are hard for me. So let's say I get a question and typically have problems with how to distinguish between commissions between different types of entities. So like a solicitor, someone who works for an insurance company versus someone who is paid as a 1099 within the insurance company, and then a broker, right? They all have different payout levels and also marketing kind of restrictions. So if I have a question comes up in the practice test, I'll go ahead and save it, take a screenshot, label it, and then if it comes out during the AHIP, I can have an easy reference to see, okay, what was it again? Because that's some of the questions that I know I don't need to know to do my business, but I need to know to pass this test. Because for me, you know, I'm a broker, so I don't have to really worry about a solicitor, how they get paid or how they operate. I just need to know how I get paid and how I have to operate. So that's one thing. The second tip is to have multiple screens. So I myself have 3 screens. And typically what I'll do when I take the test is I have the test on the main screen, and I have 2 separate screens where I have all of my kind of problem questions that I talked about in the first tip, and then the next screen is going to be where I do my Google searching, just in case, you know, something I just can't figure it out. And what that'll do is it'll allow me to kind of be quick and to retest or reaffirm my answers, because we're not looking for answers that we don't know. Most of the questions on this test are going to be something that we recently reviewed. So we shouldn't be just, you know, typing in Google search and just trying to find the answer that way. Definitely not what we should be doing. What we should be doing is just to verify, you know, perhaps a certain language or a word, specific word in that we have to find. And lastly, tip 3, find a good place where you can sit down, spend the whole day if possible, just working on this test. And that's all you do. Don't answer emails, don't answer the phone, just work on certification, because that whole mentality, that whole mindset that you're in has to be to a point where you're not thinking about other things, because those things will distract you from learning the module, right? Your focus should be learning the modules, so that when it's time to take the test, you have all that information from the modules fresh and in focus, so that when you take the test, it's merely picking up information that's right there, right stored, front of mind, because you just learned it, and it's the only thing you're thinking about. And a couple ways to do it is to, if you have a door, I have a door right here, I can just close the door. Another thing to do is to disable your email, X out of Outlook, you know, X out of all your mail tabs. Also, put your phone outside or do not disturb, and make sure the only people who can contact you are people like your family, in case if you have kids, you know, and they have an emergency at school, or your parents if they rely on you for, you know, help if they live nearby. Just those people who are absolutely crucial that may need to contact you urgently. Other than that, all clients off, friends off, and turn it upside down so that you are not tempted to look at it in any way. So don't do any of your Google searching or anything like that, or any of those pictures on your phone. That can be distracting. Use it only on the computer. And the last tip is to be optimistic. So if you are someone who has taken this test more than once and you're recertifying, a lot of the questions are the same. I've taken this test 7-8 times already, and a lot of the questions are the same. It's the same person, the same scenario. So more chances than not, you will pass it. Now, don't rush, because that's usually where my mistakes happen, is I rush and accidentally answer a question wrong because I think, oh yeah, this is the right answer, and then it was actually the next. It wasn't B, it was C, because C was more correct than B. So make sure you read everything thoroughly. You'll do great. If you have questions about starting to sell Medicare Advantage plans or Medicare Part D plans, want to add it to your practice, be sure to reach out to me. I can definitely help you figure out what you need to get started, how to get started, and tips and tricks so that you can be a successful Medicare agent, or just having Medicare added to your practice. I hope to see you guys in the next video, where we'll talk about how you can actually, you know, certify with the insurance companies, and how to do that the best way, the safest way, the easiest way after you've taken the AHIP. Leave the comments below. Let me know if you took the AHIP, you found it fun, easy. Probably not fun. I'm probably the only person that thinks it's fun. But if you found it easy, helpful, and what do you think about the test that we have to take every year? Is it even relevant anymore? I'll see you there.